Hey, my name is James Nicholson. The rental reform bill has passed the House of Commons. It's now in the House of Lords. If you are a landlord or you're a tenant of a property, you really should watch this video because this is going to talk about all the new stuff, all the new rights that you have as a tenant, all the new stuff that you've got to do as a landlord. And we're going to ultimately discuss, is this a good thing or a bad thing for the rental sector? Now, before we jump into this, as always, if you haven't done already, what are you doing? Subscribe to the channel over there. Hit that bell notification. Go on, do that right now. Subscribe and hit the bell. We're on the way to 23,000 subscribers. We've got new content every single day. And while you're here, smash that like button, tickle that like button, do something to that like button. That really helps with the YouTube algorithm. And share this video. I'm sure you know someone that's a landlord or a tenant. Click that share button. Share it to them on Facebook, Messenger, WhatsApp, email, whatever. Let's get the message out on this video. So, the Renters Reform Bill. This has taken a while. This is similar to the Leasehold Reform Act. Renters Reform Bill. And so this is passed the House of Commons now. That's taken a little while, and it's now into the House of Lords. There's around 5 sessions that are probably needed to tidy this up and make it a little bit better. There's a bit of pushback because a lot of people in the House of Lords are probably landlords themselves, and so they're not going to want to sign something that makes life particularly hard for themselves. But the Conservatives have promised that this will be in law, signed off by the King by autumn 2024, so this year. So it's pretty much a case of tweaking a few little bits now and then moving forward and making this law. So this is likely to go through pretty quickly. So here are, I've got a lot of notes on this, so I will be checking those. Here are what we've got to consider, and these are the key points in that. So first off is rolling tenancies. So rolling tenancy. So what does that mean? Well, right now, as a landlord myself, and maybe you're a landlord or a tenant, you normally give someone 6 months, 12 months, 24-month tenancy agreement. And that's on an assured short hold tenancy. They're going, right? And so if you have a tenancy right now, let's just say I've just, this week, one of my tenants has, the agent has sent me their new annual tenancy agreement through. We just check it all over, check we're happy with the tenant, they're happy, we both agree, and then they've got another 12-month period. So let's just say this comes into law by autumn and they're in that 12 months. That 12-month will continue. If it was a 24-month period, it would continue. So it will carry on until that tenancy, the current tenancy you've got, expires. On renewal, then if this law is passed, then you will go onto the rolling tenancy. That's very important. So it's not just going to abolish all tenancies straight away. That would just be carnage for the estate agents to get all of the tenancies sorted at once. And so it's just going to be, as the tenancy expires, the new one will be on a rolling tenancy. So what's new? Well, the tenant has to sit there for a minimum of 4 months. This is good for landlords. So the tenant has to be there for 4 months, and then they can give 2 months notice. Right? So they've got to sit there for 4 months first, then they can give you 2 months notice. So that means the minimum length of a tenancy is 6 months, right? Not bad. I don't have a massive problem with this. In fact, I know lots of landlords are worried about this bill, as in I've seen the surveys, more than 50% of landlords are really not happy with this bill at all. They feel it's way stronger for the tenants. But this is fine, it's just less admin, right? You just get them onto the rolling tenancy, and then they've got to stay for 6 months. If they want to leave, they at 4 months can give you 2 months notice. You've got 2 months to find someone else. That's not that different to what we've got right now, in my opinion, right? So rolling tenancies will be a great thing. Now, one thing personally they're not good for is letting agents, because letting agents make a fee every time they do a new tenancy. And so that's interesting to see there. So next, I Okay, so the next one is student landlords. Let's talk about them. I've seen comments on this. I am not a student landlord myself. But a student landlord, they have concerns about this. Let's just say, for example, the student took a rolling tenancy and the landlord forgot to give notice, right? The landlord forgot to give notice. And so that meant that they overran the tenancy. It ran to 13 months. Then they miss out on getting new tenants in and they lose a whole year of rent for that property. That is a concern. Getting the property back is very important for student landlords, right? Really, really, really important to get the property back, get it all refreshed, get it back marketed on the market, get new tenants in. That's very important. So student landlords, there will be an amendment to this to say that you can get your property back as you can now. So student properties will be in a separate category. They won't be on the rolling tenancies. They'll be similar to what they are now. So that's positive news if you're a student landlord and you're wondering. It's also good if you're a student. You don't want to have complications. Let's just keep it as it is. It works, right? So that works for me as well. Next, pets, right? This one, some landlords, hey, I don't mind. I've had pets in quite a few of my properties, and I find as a landlord, if someone moves in with a pet, they often stay longer. I think that's a consideration here. So, no landlord can now, once this passes, refuse pets without reasonable reason, right? There needs to be a reasonable reason for that. Now, the tenant must ask in writing if they can have a pet, right? They cannot just verbally do it. It has to be done in writing. You approve it. You have to disapprove or approve in writing. You need to respond in writing. Now, if you've got an estate agent, I only use estate agents, I don't manage any of my own properties, then they'll do this for you. So the tenant will apply to the estate agent. The estate agent will check what your thoughts are. If you're happy, they'll agree. If you're not, they have to respond within 42 days, right? That's very important. Now, some people, as landlords, they don't like pets, right? And some insurance companies don't like pets. So if the insurance on your property would increase because there's a pet in the property, the tenant is liable for that additional cost. So they would need to have a rental top up to make the landlord satisfied and allow them to have that more expensive premium. So that is a consideration, and that's good for landlords. And I think it's fair for tenants. It means more people can actually have a pet in their house, and that's good, in my opinion. Now, some pets, they're not suitable for the type of property, or maybe the lease that you've got, if you've got a flat, doesn't allow them. And then that's when you can say, look, I'm sorry, we're just not allowed them in this block of flats. So pets is a key consideration here. What else have we got here? So Section 8, this is important. So Section 8 is a notice that you serve if you have a tenant that is just breaking their tenancy. They're not paying you rent, they're smashing the place up. And if they don't pay you rent and you serve a Section 8, right now, today, what can happen is just before court, the tenant can get the rent up to date. And then you go to court, the judge will say, they're up to date, I'm dismissing this case. And then you've got to start again, right? Which is frustrating. You've spent money, you've got your rent, but you've spent money getting it to court in the first place and probably been a few months without rent. Now, the new Section 8 that will go through will be similar. However, if they go into rental arrears 3 times, that is automatic. They will automatically be able to get evicted there. They still have to go through the court process, but they won't be able to just bring the rent up to date. Right, that's a real consideration here, because some people, they know the system, they play the game, they deliberately don't pay you rent, they get it up to date when it goes to court, then they stop paying you again. And then it goes round in a vicious circle like that. Now they won't be able to do that 3 times and you're out. That is making Section 8 stronger. That is a good thing, and that's going to help landlords get their property back, in my opinion. So that's good. Rental increases. So, rental increases, You've got a rolling contract now. You'll be able to increase the rent once a year. Once a year, you'll be able to do that. And that's why estate agents are worth their weight in gold. My estate agent just reminds me, they say, look, you've got a new tenancy, are you keeping the rent the same? Which sometimes we do. Sometimes it goes up a tad. And so that's what we've got to look at in the market. So rental increases are now 1 per year, which is important. Next is there's going to be a property ombudsman, which everybody has to use. Now, estate agents will have access to that, or if you rent it out yourself, you're going to have to register with the ombudsman. That means that if you're a bad landlord, you're not doing maintenance that you're required to do, or there's health and safety issues with the property, the tenant can take you to the ombudsman. And that is really, really important that you don't get into that situation, right? All estate agents will register with the same ombudsman. They might charge you for that, I don't know, but it will run through that. It will all be more organised, and that will be good as well. Next is a property portal. So there's going to be a property portal, and that will allow you to check your landlord out. So right now, if you rent one of my properties, you don't really know if I've got gas safe, if I've got insurance, if I've got electrical certificate, all of this kind of stuff. The agent has it, and I do because the agents really push, but not every landlord does. And so there's going to be a property portal where you can find out all the stuff for your property transaction. You'll be able to know, is the gas up to date? Is the electrical certificate up to date? Anything else that is important will all be held in this central location between the parties, between the agent, the landlord, and the tenant. That's going to be introduced by the government, and that is going to be something that's very useful as well. Next, I'm not going to write this on the board because it'll take me an hour. So this is something called applying the decent home standard and private rentals applying the decent home standard to the private rental sector. So what they're saying is that you have to have your property to a decent standard, and that will be determined whether you, for example, have mold, or for example, you have things that are broken in the property or not fixed, right? And so there's going to be a minimum standard for properties, which is fine. I think most landlords would pass that. But if you don't pass that, here's where the problems come in. A landlord could get fined £30,000 in the worst case scenario. £30,000 or more, because the tenant could claim back 24 months rent if you don't keep your property up to the decent home standard, which we'll wait to see what that means. So that's one to consider as well. Child benefits, child ben and DSS, social housing. So child benefit, you will not be able to ban someone that's on child benefit or the dole, basically the DSS. You will not be allowed to ban those. You see those adverts, I've seen them on Rightmove, I've seen them in papers. No DSS. You will not be allowed to advertise like that anymore, and you will not be allowed to make it unfair and give them an unfair advantage to get hold of your property. So that's one thing here. Next is a rent repayment order. So if you fail to look after your property, payment order, squeeze that in there. If you fail to look after your property and it's deemed that way by the local authority or local council, if you commit 7 offences, which include things like forceful entry to your property, not looking after your property, not doing all your legal responsibility, if you have 7 offences, you can now get fined 24 months rent. The tenant would get 24 months rent as compensation. That's a real consideration here. And there's one last one, which you've been waiting for, and that's Section 21. Right, Section 21, very strong opinions from both sides on this. That's what the bill is mainly about, and that is no-fault evictions. So what they're saying is no-fault evictions will still stand. We will still have Section 21. However, the bill will pass, The government will then work to improve the court system. When the court system, this is already stuff that they've said, when the court system is able to cope with Section 21s, then Section 21 will be abolished. What do I think about that? I think that unlikely that they'll ever get around to getting the court ready because they've got so many asylum issues, knife crime and all that kind of stuff. I just don't think that it's going to be particularly a high priority for them. And I think that 10 years, you'll still see this. The only way you'll get Section 21 abolished is if Labour come in and push it through a little bit faster. That's the only way. If you keep the Conservatives, even if you get Labour, I think it will take a long time to go through because the courts just aren't ready for it. So in summary, what we're saying here is you need to be a better landlord. You need to look after your tenants. You will have more responsibilities. You need to be open and able to capture more types of tenants, including people with pets, on child benefit and DSS. And I think that this is fine. I don't have a massive problem with this as a landlord. I think this will remove some landlords out the market. And what that means is that it keeps the good landlords in there. And if you run your property, it will probably edge rents up. I think this bill will actually increase rents, which isn't good for the renter, but it does mean that you'll have a bit more margin as a landlord to be able to run a proper business. And long term, that gives tenants security, a nice place to live, and you'll make an income off that long term. Let me know your thoughts on this in the description, in the comments below. I've also made a blog on this, which I'm going to link below as well. Go and check out the blog version with all of the details on this one. Do subscribe if you didn't already. Smash the like, longer video than normal, but go and check some more content on my channel, including this video right here.